I saw this disturbing film when I was at the tender age of 9. I would either be traumatized for life or it would be official that I was a lifelong horror fan. Luckily, the second one happened. Obviously, the film's overtones went way over my head at the time. Now I understand what it was talking about. Obviously, Pinhead is one of the most famous horror icons of all time. The film was based on a short book by Clive Barker called The Hellbound Heart. And in the book, the character isn't anything special, but here he is one of the coolest looking monsters of all time. Most people who watch the film remember it for Pinhead, which is ironic since Pinhead is barely more than a plot device in the film. He only shows up for 8 minutes, but he steals the show in every scene he's in. There's two kinds of horror fans. Those that like the killer with a lot of pizzazz and personality, aka Freddy and Chucky fans, and those like me who prefer the strong silent type who just gets the job done and doesn't screw around, aka Jason and Michael fans. Well, Pinhead is the perfect combination of those traits. He has personality, but he's not annoying. He's more like a blunt, to the point, no-nonsense enforcer. And he rips people's skin off with chains. What's not to love? But the real villain is Frank Cotton. He is the real main villain. In some ways, Pinhead is actually more of a hero here than a villain. Frank is one of those sick perverts that the Marquis de Sade would have loved. He doesn't care about anyone but himself, and all he really cares about is his own pleasure. If it makes him feel good, right or wrong, it's good. There's one scene where he openly declares that he opened up the lament configuration to feel the pleasures of heaven or hell. He didn't care which. Unfortunately, he gets more than he bargained for when he gets skinned and ripped to pieces by Pinhead and his fellow Cenobites, all of whom look fantastic. Later, his brother's wife, who he had a one-night stand with, and who can't get over the one-night stand, finds him as a skinless freak, and she brings him victims so he can absorb their skin and get back to normal. He just uses her like he does everything else, but she actually loves the freak, who is such a pervert he even has a lech for his own niece, Kirsty, which is wrong on so many levels, and he seemingly sees nothing wrong with this. The hero is Kirsty. She naturally hates her mother-in-law because she senses what a whore she is, and she later accidentally opens up the box and lets Pinhead back out. She makes a deal with Pinhead to take her perverted uncle instead of her. Kirsty is smoking hot. Ashley Lawrence is a beautiful woman, and I seem to have a thing for curly-haired brunettes with girl-next-door good looks. Really, she reminds me of Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, but more gothic. But here's the point of the film. It's about S&M and the mix of pain and pleasure. The sixth thing is, Pinhead isn't even evil in a traditional sense. Let me ask you this. Why would you open up a portal to hell unless you wanted to suffer? And why would you want to suffer if that wasn't what you secretly wanted in the first place? Pinhead is just giving the people what they want. They want to suffer and feel pain because that's what they asked for. There's even a scene where he says that the Cenobites are demons to some and angels to others. Personally, I find all the S&M stuff to be repulsive, and I don't understand why it appeals to anyone. But it does. Maybe like Frank, they get more than they asked for, but in the end, they got what they came for. And as for Pinhead, he's not even the worst monster here. There's also a creature called the Engineer, who's even worse than him. A creature so repulsive, it has no human qualities. The original is a masterpiece with great gore and special effects, a great hero, weird, disturbing villains, an iconic monster, and something else no one talks about, a great gothic musical score, one of the most underrated scores in all of horror history, in fact. The second film, where the evil stepmother is the main villain and we discover more of Pinhead's origins, as well as seeing all of Hell's landscape rather than just a glimpse of it like the original, is a fine film as well. The rest of the films, well, they suck. Most of them were just abandoned scripts that added Pinhead at the last minute to cash in on the name, and don't really have much to do with the original plot lines. Actually, I like Hellraiser Judgment, but really only the first two are universally loved. The remake got good reviews too, maybe because it actually has Pinhead as a main character this time, instead of as a side character, but I think it sucks too, so there. The original film is one of the greatest horror films ever made, and the first two are essential.